difficult journey, this thing called embodied enlightenment. Few have ever come this way. Not so easy, is it? Not so easy. Embodied enlightenment. Sounds wonderful. I wonder what the hell it is. The funny thing is, when we do our classes, when we do our gatherings, I ask that question, what is embodied enlightenment? Very few can actually give an answer. But the interesting thing is, you may not be able to give the answer from right here, but you already know. That's why it is such a passion, such a desire. I have such an insatiable desire for this thing we called embodied enlightenment. Have no clue what it is. Mind doesn't understand, never will, never can, can't even plan it, can't figure it out, but you know what it is. Can't put words to it, maybe write a few songs about it, songs without words, but you know. That's why there's this deep, deep desire for this thing called enlightenment. Once you make this true and conscious choice for your enlightenment, which I assume most of you have, once you make that choice, you're no longer a student. You are a master at that point. Please hear those words. See, when you're still trying to decide, when you're putting your toes and fingers into that pudding of potential enlightenment, you're still trying to decide you are indeed a student. You're assuming the role of student. You will be a student. You will get student energy. You will get teachers that teach to students. But once you make that deep, clear, and conscious choice for embodied enlightenment, you are truly a master. And you start attracting the energies that a master and only a master can attract. When you can boldly and clearly say, I'm choosing this for myself above anything else, above family, above wealth, of course, above anything, above all the rules, above even life itself. When there's no fear of death anymore, because in this process of embodied enlightenment, you meet death over and over, as so many of you know. You may meet it physically. You may just meet it in your dreams and in your fears. But that death comes to you over and over, ultimately helping you to understand the beauty of life. I'm going to title this How to Live, kind of encompassing, wouldn't you say? Would you write that? How to Live.
Sure.
And this has perhaps been a not such a good word in the past. Linda doesn't like this word at all.
Oh.
Assume.
Oh, that makes an ass out of you and me.
No, it only makes an ass out of you.
Oh.
Assume. If you would, please.
Really?
On its own piece of paper.
Oh.
Assume.
I hate that word.
What you do is you assume, stop questioning and doubting, you assume that if you've chosen enlightenment, you've made a clear choice, you just assume that everything is serving that. Everything, no buts. Now, here's a couple of little caveats. If you really haven't chosen it, you're still going from group to group, trying to decide which group you're going to go with, and you're still studying spirituality, this is going to really hurt. But if you made a clear choice within yourself for your embodied enlightenment in this lifetime period, just period, and you assume. So here you are, a plate, consciousness. In consciousness, you've made a clear choice for embodied enlightenment. And when you make that clear choice, then and only then can what you call your divinity, your I am, join you. Because when you're not sure, it stays away. There is a an illusion of separation between you and yourself. You create this barrier. So what you would call your true I am, your spirit, kind of stays away and watches. Watches just, hey, what's going on? Watches you going through your challenges, your dark and light days. Just sits back. Once you make that very clear choice, no buts, just a period, I choose embodied enlightenment, period. Then the I am, the divinity, it comes in, and you just assume, blindly, naively, stupidly. Yeah. You have to almost be so stupid with yourself. You just, naive, let's call it, simple, pure, whatever the word is, but you just assume that's what's happening. But when doubt comes in the way of an aspect, big doubt comes in, and it starts to overshadow and starts to draw energy to it. And suddenly the energy that should be going to this beautiful enlightenment suddenly gets distracted over to the huge doubt. However, if you just blindly assume, it goes like that again. But then, of course, things happen. You have people, you have in your life, you have situations that come up, and then you start to doubt again. And it starts to take the energy, and it starts to cover up your let's say, your purity. And now you get all discombobulated. The energy's going everywhere but to you. It's all getting tied up in the doubts. So what do? You just dumb down. No buts. Just go back to the clarity. You assume naively, blindly, but that's hard to do. Because, well, if I just assume, what if I get blindsided? Well, you just assume, A, you're not going to, and B, if you do, it's actually a huge gift. You see, all these doubts that come in, they're coming from everywhere, David. They're coming from aspects and guilt. And they all start, Linda, would you hold that?
It's my pleasure. Oh, I get to hold the good
You
one.
see, because I'm really busy with all of the doubts, and they're all taking energy, and they're all distracting, and they're all getting in the way, and they're all annoying, and they're covering up. And you see, they're all taking away. So what do? You take a deep breath, that naive breath, and you just assume. You assume, dear God, I'm calling you God, you assume that if you've chosen embodied enlightenment, that's all that's going to happen. Now, of course, get over here. Now, all the doubt starts coming in and covering up, you see, but it takes energy. It's very distracting. Pretty soon, you're even going to forget what the hell you're here for, embodied enlightenment. And you start doubting that because you've got all these questions going on. And you just stop, you take a deep breath, you choose enlightenment. But the buts come up then. The doubts come up. They literally start taking energy and even consciousness away. They start distracting. And then you just start questioning even more. Maybe I'm not doing this right. Maybe I need to read this book. Maybe I need to do this therapy. Maybe I need to do this and that. No, all you do is assume. Assuming, you could say, takes a lot of trust. Well, it takes total trust. But at this point, what else do you have to trust? Nothing. No, nothing. Assuming means adopting yourself. It means adopting you. It means adopting or taking on or taking ownership for the fact that if you've chosen enlightenment, why would anything but enlightenment happen? Why? God, which is, by the way, not what you think it is, isn't sitting up there saying, I don't know, I don't think they're ready for enlightenment yet. Oh, God doesn't care. You can choose enlightenment, you can choose total separation, doesn't care. There is no forces out there, any forces anywhere, that are actually working against your enlightenment. The forces that are out there are working for the people that don't want enlightenment. You see, they're much easier to work with. There is not anything other than what we call some aspects of doubt or guilt within yourself that are working against you. And actually, they're not really working against you. They're just doing what you've asked them to do. Interfere. Run interference. Your doubt aspects, your guilt aspects, your whatever aspects, they're just doing what you asked. The moment that you just assume that everything is about your enlightenment, then it becomes so. It's a little bit of a trick on yourself in a way, but it's an honest trick on yourself. Because otherwise you keep thinking about it and stressing about it, and your body starts hurting and start wondering what you're doing wrong, and pretty soon you just give up, which is actually about the best thing you can do. Enlightenment is difficult enough anyway because you're going through deep level biological and changes as well as going beyond the mind. But when the energy is going to all these aspects of doubt, it makes it many, many times more exhausting. You've chosen embodied enlightenment. Now, assume that it is becoming so.